see the crystal raindrops fall, and the beauty of it all is when the sun comes shining through to make those rainbows in my mind. When I think of you sometime, and I want to spend some time with you, just the two of us. We can make it if we try, just the two of us. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. What's going on? I am Darrick McGhee.
I am Tikia McGhee.
Another episode of Just the Two of Us, our podcast talking about marriage, our friendship, but also giving prayerfully some wisdom, some encouragement, and some love toward each one of you. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. You sure you good?
Yeah, we back with another one.
That's it. Thank you all so much for the support. We appreciate the love that is being shown, the comments that you all give to us. We greatly appreciate it. Just trying to be obedient to this vision God gave. So we're grateful. So Lady T, or Tikia, however phase we're looking at this, was asking me, what are we going to talk about? I never tell her, right? I want to have an honest reaction, right, to the conversation. I think if you give her the questions up front, it comes off very scripted. But if I ask her, she's giving you her honest answer in that moment. And so I'm grateful for that. So that's what I want to talk about, right? We've been married for a while, a few years here or there, right? We've been together for a long time. I want to talk about dreaming and goal setting and implementation and things of that nature. We had a critical juncture in life, right? We have one of our two kids in college. We have our youngest one who's a freshman in high school. So in 4 years she'll be hopefully in college if that's her heart's desire. And then we will be starting a journey of empty nesting. Yes. At a young age though, right? Yeah. I'll be right at 50, right? And you'll be what, 54?
What? Bro, I'm younger than you.
But no, let's talk about this. So let me open up by making a very true point. I think it's important to kind of start out this way. I think if I do this, then it'll kind of set a pace for this conversation. She doesn't know I'm going to talk about this, but I'm going to do this. So Tikia and I got engaged April of 2001. I proposed to Tikia at her undergraduate graduation party. So it was April 28, 2001. I had proposed to her. 21 days prior, my Aunt Mary, whom I beloved, she died. And then 7 days later, on the 14th, we buried her. So 14 days from her burial, I proposed to Tikia. And we got engaged. The next day, on a Sunday at the church, I went to her home where she was staying with her mom in undergrad. And my mom happened to be in town. So we go over there for Sunday dinner, and Tikia presents this binder that was like her wedding binder. And I'm like, you put together a binder in less than 24 hours. Like, I just proposed this yesterday. I have this binder. I recognized then how men and women see marriage, right? Like, not that I was playing around with proposing, but like Kia had ideas. She had thoughts. She had a theme. She had colors. She had all that type of stuff. Just wanted to get married. Like, it wasn't, if it's just been the two of us at the courthouse, I would have been cool. Kia had this whole thing. She wanted to arrive to the wedding in a horse and a carriage in November, mind you. All those type of things. The one thing that we
keep reliving that story. We already told people that.
But the one thing about this that we really had a bone of contention about, this is where I was going, is the length of our engagement.
Yes.
So Tikia got blessed with the opportunity to be a part of an inaugural master's program. In what area?
Health Services Administration.
At FAMU. So she was part of an inaugural master's program, and she started literally that August, right? She graduated that April undergrad. I graduated that December prior, right? So she took off the summer, started that August, and I proposed to her that April. And so the only thing we really argued about was the wedding date. Tikia wanted to wait like 3 years before we got married, which I thought was just ridiculous, right? And I use it kind of being egotistical here, and probably also whatever I'm looking for. Like, I think if it had been flipped, if I had said let's wait 3 years, I probably would have gotten great criticism, right? Because men get a bad rap for, not being in a hurry to get married, right? But she wanted to wait 3 years. But why did you want to wait 3 years?
Because in my mind, first of all, I wanted to complete grad school, right, in 2 years, which I did. But in my mind, if we were married, I was going to get pregnant. I don't know where I got this in my head. Like, I was going to get pregnant and I was going to have to stop grad school. And if I had gotten pregnant and stopped grad school, I don't know if I would have ever gone back.
And so, just checking the volume. So for me, I was like, what are you talking about? Like 3 years? What is going on here? And like, she was when we were bumping heads. And I will admit, number one, I didn't have an appreciation for her not wanting to get pregnant early in our marriage, right? I didn't have an appreciation. To me, it's like, man, we married. If it happens, it happens. Oh well. But Kia had a dream, right? And she had a goal, and she wanted to complete what she was starting. And I had no issue with any of that. But I did have issue with a 3-year engagement. Like, what are we doing? Engagement has been longer than we dated, in a sense. And if you're telling me that's your reason for delaying our wedding, then do you really want to get married? And we went back and forth in conversation. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about, do you have to forfeit your goals in marriage because, right? I don't think you have to, but I want to hear your perspective.
I don't think you have to. I think you both have to sit down and come up with a plan, right? Because it's not fair for me to live out my dreams and you halt yours, or vice versa. Like, that's not marriage. Like, you're being controlling, or you want everything your way. And in marriage, this is not Burger King. You can't have it your way all the time.
That's good. Then why you want to wait 3 years?
Because I didn't want to get pregnant. And I don't know why in my head I thought, time you get married, you're going to get pregnant. I don't know where that thought came from. Probably came from my mom, because she went back to school later in life. And I love her to death, but I just didn't want that to be my story. I wanted to start it and finish it. I didn't want to start it and delay it.
Yeah. And so I agree with you on dreams and on goals, right? I don't think you should have to forfeit your dreams or goals. I think one of the blessings of being in marriage is you're each other's cheerleaders. And right. I think that you can do those type of things, right? Whether it's early or late, I think you can do that. But I do see couples where they're in conversations, you can almost hear the resentment from one or the other, because there are things that they desire to have done that they've yet to do, right, for whatever reason, whether kids came early, whether the spouse had a mindset, whatever it may be. And we've had a chance to do some counseling of married couples, and you kind of hear it, and you can hear the resentment. Sometimes it's verbally expressed, and I don't think you have to forfeit dreams and go. I think you have to be realistic, yes, right? But and sometimes for the men, sometimes it's you supporting your wife the way you want her to support you in return, right? It doesn't always have to be the wife having to forfeit her dreams, that you may pursue yours in that regard. But no one told us that. Right? No one told us that you can dream and pursue. So as Tikia was pursuing her master's, I had already begun my career. I had already graduated college, started my career. And then, God gave me a vision to start a youth Bible study at our previous church. And so that was getting started. And then that took off, and it grew fast. And it grew big and large fast. And so, that by itself was a major undertaking. And at the time we didn't have any kids, so we're married. So Kia and I had this arrangement where we would meet. Kia had night classes, so she was working on her day. Our classes was at night, and there were certain nights we would meet for dinner. Yep. And so, that was our time together to kind of just unwind and have conversation again early in our marriage. Good thing is there were no kids, so I started realizing why not having kids right away mattered. I didn't get it initially, and then as the early part of our marriage, things were so busy, I started understanding, right? Our first year of marriage, we stayed in a townhouse, and literally we had one of two places we would meet at for dinner before we went home. And I am grateful for those quiet moments and those intentional conversations. because it allowed both of us to hear each other's heart. I never was fearful about if we had kids early, what would that look like? But we never had kids. I actually have a married friend who and his wife got pregnant on the honeymoon, right? So the first 9 months of their marriage, she was pregnant, and they're doing well in life, and thank God for that. But that wasn't our situation. But why do you think, other than the fact of lack of communication, do you think that kids allow you to put your dreams on hold? Let me make it make better sense.
Okay.
Do you think that we use kids as an excuse?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, because I've used my kids as an excuse why I can't go back to school. But Darrick is 19, Tania is 14. Like, what is the excuse now? Like, at this point, you either do it or you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes we do allow our kids, and everybody's situation is different, right? So we're blessed to have family in town.
Correct.
So probably even if I would have gone back to school while they were younger, it would have been hard, but I still had a support system besides my husband who could help with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in a city where you don't know anybody and you're just trying to make it, it's easy to make the kids an excuse.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I agree that we I never planned on us being in Tallahassee when we got married, when we had kids, right? I was trying to leave. I come from a big city. I did not want to settle in this small city in comparison to where I came from. I look back on it with appreciation because I come from a big family. I'm very close to my family, especially the McGhee side. And so I love the idea of being around family. I love our family gatherings. I love all that type of stuff. But I'm also grateful that our children are growing up in a very tight-knit familial structure in that regard. And so you are right. So now, think about our situation, right? We mentioned our son's a freshman in college at 19, our daughter 14, a freshman in high school. Fast forward 4 years, but you are, without telling your business, I mean, we're thinking about some things in this season of our marriage and in this season of life for us, some things that we probably put on hold. And so do you feel like there is a right time to reimagine or to try again, whatever that word may be?
I don't think you should put a time on it.
Okay.
I think when you realize you have been your greatest hindrance, just do it. Like just keep going and just do it and just show up and do it. I think sometimes we get in a stagnant position and it's easy. It's easy to blame. Oh, Darrick has a busy career. Oh, Tania has this. Oh, Dee Dee has this to do, and you are not. You just are not focused. And it's okay to just say in the season, I'm not focused. And it's not my heart's desire. And I had a point where I wanted to go back to school to pursue a PhD, but then it just wasn't my heart's desire anymore. And then when I told him, he was looking like, what? You've been talking about this since we've been married.
Mm-hmm.
But things change. Like you grow different in your career and things. So that's not, the question was, am I pursuing the PhD for me?
Wow.
Or am I pursuing the PhD for the applause of man? And I had to stop and do a self-check on myself.
That's good. Yeah, so as she mentioned, I mean, it was never a secret that Tikia wanted to get a PhD and be a college professor. And I had verbalized that in many settings, right? Because that was always the conversation and trying to figure out the timing of when to do that. Right. She even had, former instructors and friends who would ask her or would encourage her. Yep. I would be the one encouraging her. And she would always try to figure out, well, you don't have time. You're busy. I'm like, listen, we'll figure it out, right? Like, to me, I don't want, we can always find excuses for anything. Mm-hmm. For me, it was like, listen, those are not a concern of mine. If you have a desire to do this, I cheer you 100%. Go for it. We'll figure everything else out. And it seemed like every semester almost, there was always something coming up that was hindering her from even looking at the application, let alone getting the information. And, I noticed that there was, I'm going to use the word fear, it may not have been fear. I knew there was something that was hindering the next step, but I also was sensitive to not, being demanding for an answer. And then one day she hit me with the, I don't want to do this. And I was caught off guard because she had never hinted at it beforehand. And she kind of explained um, the evolution of thinking and her heart on it. And it all made sense. It really did, and it still does. But it was, this wasn't like, a year after saying it. This was like many years later. She said, I just kept wondering, like, are you going to do this? You're not going to do this. And I remember saying to you one time, like, stop using the keys as an excuse. Yeah. Like, they're getting older, right? It's easy to hide behind them and the business of their lives, which is all true. But at the same point, we will figure this out. And I mean that with all sincerity. My concern for my wife was, and I said this where I said, I'm concerned that you love being a cheerleader, but you don't like being cheered on. Mm-hmm. And that was a concern of mine is you're robbing me of the chance to cheer for you as you cheer for me. Like, Kia is an amazing supporter. Thank you for that. She's an amazing supporter, amazing encourager, like literally ride or die with you, right? But I want that same in return. Like, I would love to, and I want to be her plus one at things. I want to be the one cheering her on. When she got her master's, for example, when she's pursuing it, she had the option of doing an internship or doing a thesis, right? Yeah. Internship, there was no guarantee it would be internship with pay, right? So she was working full-time and going to school. She pursues a thesis. And it got so stressful that Tikia broke out in hives. But at that graduation, I yelled like I got the master's myself. I rode the ride with her. I watched the sacrifice. I watched everything she went through. I was the proudest person in the room when she defended her thesis. I got a ticket that day. So I got my car towed and everything. But also at the graduation, right? Because
he was allowed.
I had been there. Like, they tell you, please hold your applause. Like, I'm not trying to hear any of that. Like, you weren't there for the struggle. Yeah. But I was so proud and so grateful to have a chance to cheer her on for one of the first times in our marriage because it was about her. And so I've always been concerned that you put your dreams and your goals on the back burner for us, for me, and for the kids. While I appreciate it, we also love cheering mommy on. Right. And I'm grateful that you've evolved to a point now where you're like, I really want to pursue some things. And I'm like, let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah, it's different I think it's different when you go set later in life because you're more settled in yourself.
That's good.
You're not trying to prove a point. I'm not jealous of where you are and what you are doing. I do know couples that have that back and forth. And when that jealousy comes, it becomes bitter and resentment.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about like the competition within the marriage, right? Seeing your spouse as your competition versus as your cheerleader, right? Where you're trying to outdo each other, right? And why is that, in your opinion?
I think it's something within yourself that you're not settled. I want to say from a male's perspective, some men can't handle their wife making more than them, so they could internally compete and without their spouse knowing. And the same for women. Feel like I gotta make X, Y, and Z. I gotta be the boss chick, whatever that is. I have to be in charge. I have this. What your word do I want to use? I have this image that I want to uphold. So it creates competition because when you do that, then you have to have a certain status. You have to drive a certain, like, it's the vibes you give off, and it's unnecessary.
Yeah. So it's, I agree with all that. And there was a point early in our marriage where Tikia was making more money than me. And I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. When I tell you unbothered, I was like, man, go do you.
Going to the same account.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm not tripping at all. I don't mind you being my sugar mama. Yeah. I could care less. We gonna enjoy it. It was not a situation for me. Yeah. I also grew up, well, I didn't have a lot of money growing up. Yeah. My mom did the very best she could, and I thank God, Mommy, I appreciate you and every sacrifice you made. I mean that with all sincerity. So for me, whether I was making all the money or we're making it together, for me, just seeing money in the account was a big deal for me. But it was never one of the situations where I felt like, okay, I got to get out there now. I got to make more than her. Over time, it got to that point, but it was never issue. But there was a good amount of years where it was Tikia making more, and my manhood was not in question. I wasn't challenged by that at all. Um, I am grateful, but you mentioned something earlier that I think is key about insecurity within yourself. I think it goes both ways, right? I definitely think upbringing can play a role in that. Um, but I want to speak to married couples out there, right? Because if you're not careful, you will make the person you share a bed with your competition, and therefore they become your enemy, right? Where now everything they do, you're trying to outdo them, and there's no joy in that, right? There's absolutely no joy in that at all. Where all of a sudden now you literally are you're targeting everything they're doing. What fun is that at all? Versus cheering each other on and really believing with each other. And so I want to encourage you, to those of you out here who are really thinking about major shifts in life and what does that look like, whether it's a new career, whether it's going back to school, whatever it may be. Pray about it, of course, but also like really, this is a great opportunity to be the greatest cheerleader for each other and really push each other. When Kia was doing her thesis, whatever I had to do, I did, right? If it was buying a new laptop, if it was going to get her lunch or getting her dinner, rubbing her back, rubbing her feet, watching her cry, right? Applying ointment because she had high, whatever it may be. Like, but what was not an option, was quitting, right? Like, we're going to see this through. We're going to see this through. You have a great team of supporters. You have some great instructors around you who believe in you. I believe in you. And we're going to get through this. And so the reward of her passing her thesis defense and her graduating, it made everything worth it. Now it's testimony and stories we tell that come out of it. But quitting wasn't an option. And I don't mind whatever role you need me to play. I don't care if I come home and there are papers everywhere, which there were. We're going to get through this. And we're going to get through this because we're in this together versus, man, that's just your thing. It is what it is. No, that's just necessary stress and strain. And so I want to encourage married couples in that regard. It's okay to reimagine. It's okay to rethink about or to pray that God will resurrect that dream and that passion that you had. I think that's key. Let's add in this component though. So I keep saying reimagine, right? But it's really just, goals that you had are now front of mind. Now you're investigating, you're researching, you're preparing to pursue those things. What fear do you have?
Lord, let me finish strong when I do start. Don't allow me to be easily defeated.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, just like you said, you quitting is not an option. Once you start it, we are McGhee.
Come on now.
Once you start it, we gotta finish it. We're not gonna give up easy. We're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I don't have a fear.
Of course, like you.
No, I'm talking about towards you though. I'm talking about you, about you, the goals that you have, and I'm not sharing anything, right? Because it's not my business to share. But also, I don't believe you should speak loosely on things. I think you do things in God's timing.
Yes.
I think sometimes we prematurely share things that God has not given us release on. But I don't have any fears toward the goals you're setting and you achieving them. I don't, and I'm not even like blowing smoke. I don't. If anything, I am beyond ecstatic because the entirety of us being together. I have desired, in all sincerity, a chance to really be a cheerleader. I enjoyed cheering you on during the master's situation.
That last semester was hard.
It was. I remember you crying a lot and things of that nature. But I remember also just sometimes sitting on the floor with you, let you cry, hold your hand, and us just praying and talking through it and encouraging.
Wipe your eyes and girl, get this. You can do this.
But also, we live together, right? So I see in you, like you see in me. There are things that I've been able to pursue. There are things that I'm able to do where you've been the first person on all these things that I talk to about it. And you've always been given the audience and the allowance and the permission to be critical, to challenge it, to question it. And sometimes you do challenge it, and sometimes you'll question things, not in doubt, but just asking certain questions. But you've always cheered me on.
Because when you come to me with an idea or business plan or something God has given you, I know that you spent time praying about it before you bring it to me. It's not like, let's go start a car dealership next week. And I'm like, sir, you don't know anything about cars. So why are we doing that? But I know for a fact, like you're just not, and I trust the God in you.
Ooh, there it is. Yeah, I'm gonna start singing that song. But in return, I feel the same about you, right? And so I will tell you all. So I do investments, right? And we're a financial advisor. And my man Ben Gant, shout out to Ben Gant, man. Appreciate you. Ben has done right by us over the years. I want to give him a shout out. When we first went to Ben so many years ago, we had to do this whole this analysis, whatever. And he wanted to basically gauge, our risk level. Yes. Like I am a risk taker.
Yes, you are.
Right. With wisdom, but I'm a risk taker. Kia is nowhere near. No. Like she is all about safety, stability. Like she gonna question everything. And so there is a joy, there is an excitement that I get by being a risk taker, within reason, right? I know if I was married with no children, if I was single, I would be probably harmful to myself. I'd probably I'd be rich to a crazy amount, but probably miserable because I would never be afraid to launch. So I'm grateful for our relationship because Kia will ask the questions that cause you to slow down and really think about and pause, think about, is that you or is that God? But she's not a risk taker. And so I know as a result, like Kia really has to think through and process and ask questions and make sense of it all. And so this whole ride of her getting to where she's at now, of thinking about other opportunities that she desires to pursue, I was concerned that we would never get here because I know that you like to think through everything. And that's not critical. It's just my fear was that she's gonna overthink it and talk herself out of it versus you are a woman of faith and you've seen God's hand move and we've been through things where we've seen it was the Lord who did it. And so I was prayerful that you would have a quickening. Look at that church word. You have a quickening in your spirit. Right? You have a quickening in your spirit, with just as a reminder that I've seen God do greater, right? So when we talk through, we just spent a weekend away, the two of us. We were talking over breakfast about the research you've done about one of the things you're getting ready to do, and I was enjoying listening to you share and talk about what that looked like and what are you doing to get ready and things of that nature. And the great thing about it, y'all, is the conversation wasn't about, Darrick, I need you to do this. Darrick, can you do this? It was everything Kia was doing. And there was no role in it for me to do other than be a recipient of the information. Of course, cheer her on, but she didn't need me to do anything, right? And I'm not saying that she's needy, but it just spoke to me about how serious this is to her, that she's actually putting in the work behind the scenes. And I think that's important. She's also had important conversations of people who, maybe to your amazement, not to mine, who are like, whatever you need me to do, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, to mine makes sense.
People who, who just genuinely have a love for her, like, absolutely, I'm count me in to help you however I can, who are genuine people, right? And I think the Lord will do, I think God's timing is divine and perfect, but I also think God will align you with people who would do that in that regard. And so, your fear is, Lord, let me finish strong, which I believe he will. I'm glad you didn't say I'm worried about the impact it's going to have on the kids. I don't think it's going to have an impact on the kids. I think if anything, you're going to be able to show the kids, mainly our daughter, but even our son.
And that's my goal.
Yeah.
That you can do anything.
Yeah.
Anything that you put your mind to. And I always say it, and I say it all the time, but don't let fear be your hindrance. Because fear will hold you, fear have a grip on you. You don't even realize how fearful you are until you actually have to step out on faith and do it.
Absolutely. So to every married couple listening, as long as you have breath in your body, right, there is still time for you to reimagine, but also to launch, right? The goal that God gave you, the scripture says, he who has begun a good work in you shall perform to the day of Jesus Christ, Philippians 1:6. And so every day God gives you, there is time for you to still manifest and let God use you to launch out and to step out of wherever God has given you. I think that's important. Excuses are used as ways to prevent us from obeying God. right? And trusting God to do what God is going to do. Some things you don't see until you take that first step, right? And so I can get pastoral here. I think that's important, right? The Lord told Abram in Genesis chapter 12, get thee from thy country and from thy kindred, and I will show you. Right? God was not going to show him the promised land until he first took that first step of obeying and trusting God. And he did, and God began to reveal to him. And I think that sometimes, most of the time, all the time, we don't see the next step. We take that first step, right? I think that's important. So prepare to wrap up, right?
And let me just say
Please,
something really quick.
please.
Not only marriages, people that are married, not or anyone that's watching this, because it may be more than married people watching it.
Correct.
Not only is it career, is it education, it could be home ownership. It could be becoming debt free.
All that.
Like you have the possibility and the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
And God has given you everything you need.
Yeah.
So you just gotta step out.
Let me give a shout out to one of my dear friends and a sister of mine, and that's Frankie. Frankie Leland, who's a dear sister of mine and of ours. Frankie and I worked together early in my career in state government. And, you know, she would come in my office sometime, we would have conversation, and she was sharing with me this business idea she had. And she blessed me a couple of times with the chance to review her business plan. And Frankie was a single mother, right? But she had this business plan of starting this event planning business. And, you know, she was very serious about it. We fast forward now so many years later, and to see what she's doing with her business and her ownership and things of that nature. But the one thing I'll never take away from Frankie, beyond the great business plan, was no was not an option for her. Like, she was so driven. And so many people have been able to be employed by her, but also be blessed by her skill set. My dear sister, Tasha Frazier, right? You know, having two preemie twins, and to see what she's doing now, the amount of employees she has. My point of all of that is the person who tells you no the most is not going to be your haters, it's going to be yourself, right? And you have to get around every reason why it can't be done. Your God, those of us who are believers, your God is bigger than your excuses.
Oh, that's good.
So I think that's critically important that we realize that. I thought about this in a while back, and I wanted to conclude this way. You know what I'm going to say, so I think this is important. What would little Tikia, who you said earlier was always been shy and reserved, what would little Tikia think about today's Tikia?
You're trying to make me cry.
Being this daring and this bold.
Little Tikia would tell Tikia now.
No. Yeah. Go ahead. That's right. What would she think though first?
What would she think? Girl, you're doing it.
Yeah.
Girl, you're doing it. Like.
Yeah. I like that.
Girl, you're doing it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So I already know the answer to this question, right? If I were to ask you, did you ever see yourself doing it? You're probably gonna say no, right? As a little girl to now, you probably would say no. But to all the little Tikias out there. So first of all, define to them little Tikia.
Little Tikia was quiet, shy, and always liked to be in the background and hide.
Yeah. And some little Tikia is still in big Tikia.
It is. Yeah, right. It is.
But
it is.
If you could look into the camera and talk to today's little Tikias, based on what you just defined little Tikia as, what would you say?
Girl, keep going. You are more than enough.
Mm-hmm.
You are smart. You are beautiful. And you have been equipped with everything that you need to succeed. Only thing you have to do is step out.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say.
Yeah, what would little Darrick say?
No, before I talk to little, what I would say, because I didn't know little Tikia, right? When I met Tikia, there were remnants. Yeah. I didn't know the truth of it all. I will only say one thing to little Tikia. One thing.
You're trying to make me cry.
No, seriously. But the only thing I would say to little Tikia is thank you for not giving up. That's what I would say. She's about to cry. She cried like that, y'all. Because I think there are people who need to hear that you may be on the cusp of a major breakthrough, but you gave up too early. So I would tell her, thank you for not giving up throughout all the fears and worries and doubts. I'm grateful for that, right? I really am, because I'm excited, truthfully, to just see you in planning mode. This is her, like literally. Listen, y'all, we watched the Ronald Reagan funeral years ago, and Nancy went up to that casket.
Oh my God!
When I tell y'all, she cried like she knew who Ronald Reagan was personally.
No, you could feel the love that she had for her husband in that moment.
The way Kia cried, the way she consoled Nancy in the spirit was hilarious to me. Like, she was bawling, and I was like, "Did you know him?" And like, she was just heartbroken for Nancy, right? And anyway, so what would little Darrick think about Big Darrick today?
Has little Darrick always been bold?
No.
Okay.
So I've always been a dreamer.
Yes.
I've always been a dreamer,
yeah.
but I haven't always been bold with the dreams, right? Okay. I've always been a loyal supporter of those closest to me. Yes. Right? Like, I'm not easily intimidated by people. Like, I'm gonna cheer you on. You ain't gotta give me no recognition. You ain't gotta acknowledge me at any setting. I say this to my mentees: I don't want anything from you. I want everything for you. Yes. Right? You don't owe me nothing. I just want to see you win, and I mean that with all sincerity. So I haven't always been bold, but I've always been a dreamer. And life situations poured out of me what I think God put in me. But what I think little Darrick would think about Big Darrick is you took your turn and never let it go.
Oh, that's good.
Right? Because I was the one who would pass up my turn for somebody else to have a second opportunity. Like, that was just my situation. And it was what it was. And there were people around me, my grandfather, my grandmother, my mother, my Aunt Mary, my brother, who were like, "Man, this is on you." When I left Los Angeles to come to Tallahassee, that was the biggest thing I ever done in my life.
That was a big faith move.
Right, but it was many reasons I did that. But and the reason for doing that had nothing to do with me envisioning what I'm blessed to do now, right? I was trying to get away from some things. But also, man, I think I was at a point where I was believing there was something else. I don't know what that looked like. I really didn't have a 4-year plan. My only plan was get a degree and leave Tallahassee, right? I didn't get out of LA, get my degree, got out of Tallahassee. That was the only thing I really did. I didn't think about what this was this get me here? And none of that type of stuff was playing out. I went to every career expo at FAMU, and no opportunities came out of it, right? So I was graduating and just not seeing it the way everybody else was seeing it. And so I stopped shutting the doors that God was opening, and finally just took my turn. And God just really blessed me in that regard. What I would say to little Darricks out there is, it won't always be like this. That may sound spiritual, and it is, but also it's reality, right? My upbringing was so amazing by way of love, but based on a worldly standard, I should have been a statistic. Yeah. Right? Me and my brother should have been. Yeah. And of all of our close friends growing up on the block, we're the only two that got off initially, right? We were the only two that got off and went and did amazing things with our lives, thanks be unto God. But of all of them, we probably should have been the ones that never got off the block. And I'm grateful for a mother who would never allow our social economic status to be an excuse. But also, I'm thankful for a brother who believed in his little brother enough to keep pushing me. But also I'm thankful to God that He had a greater plan. And I'm thankful for the people who God blessed to be a part of my life, and whatever role that looked like. And little Darrick never thought he would ever meet little Tikia. To be clear about that, right? She would tell you, I wasn't planning on getting married until I was 30 at the earliest. Yeah. Right? We got married, I was 25. Right? I was never planning on getting married before 30. Right? I wanted to do a lot of things. And so you weren't a part of my plan for my life. Thank God my plan didn't come to fruition the way I had it mapped out.
So I would say to little Darrick,
you so fine.
Oh my God.
Hopefully you wouldn't say to little Darrick. That's That's kind of pedophilish. If you saying it at this current age, a little Darrick, like you too grown to be talking to a little boy.
No. No, you just talk to little Tikia. Don't do this. Don't be trying to do no reverse psychology on me. I would say to little Darrick, God's plans are bigger than your upbringing.
Ooh. Nope. Nope. I ain't going. That was good though.
Because they are.
Ooh, that's so good.
Mm-hmm. All the childhood stuff, like God's plans were so much bigger. Even you moving from California all the way to Tallahassee, God had a plan for your life. Even though you didn't, you probably was leaving for the right and wrong reasons. Yeah. But little did you know. Little did I know. It was all a setup. Yeah.
You can stop now. Okay. It ain't gonna work.
Right? He tearing up, y'all.
Nope. Ain't gonna cry in the car. Listen, this is a wrap for us. Thank you all so much for being on this ride with us. Thank you for being supporters. Gratefully appreciate just having this conversation. This is who we are. We're not putting on because the camera's on. It's kind of who we are. We laugh and joke and have a good time. Yeah, it's conversations we have off the camera too. Off the camera as well. And so I'm ever grateful for just who we are and what we have and our friendship. Yeah. I'm very proud of you. I mean that with all sincerity. I'm excited to see you dreaming again. I'm sorry, when you say dreaming again, excited to see you giving your dreams a chance to live.
Boy, that's good.
I really am. I'm glad that you stopped being the one that killed the dreams or delayed the dreams. I'm grateful that you believe God enough, but also believe in yourself enough to say, you know what,
But thank you for being the dreamer that you are. Ooh. Because if I didn't see the dreamer in action, my dreams would be delayed as well.
She over here flirting. I'm Darrick McGhee.
I'm Tikia McGhee.
Thank you all once again for being a part of the episode of just the two of us, where we just allow you into who we are as people. We're ever grateful for being able to share our life story and let you be a part of a little bit of just who we are outside the pulpit and everywhere else. And so I'm ever grateful to each one of you. Blessings be upon you. Have an amazing day. Remember, marriage is honorable in all, and the bed is undefiled. Blessings be upon each of you. God bless.
Good night. I can't imagine life